Hi everybody, and welcome to the Work at Home Career Summit. My name is Mindy McHorse and I am a professional copywriter. Today I'm going to share with you what it takes to become a work at home freelance copywriter. Now we've got a lot to cover, so let's dive right in. Today I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about how I became a copywriter and some of my story. And then we'll go into what exactly it is a direct response copywriter does, why copywriting is really a hot opportunity right now, how much money you can make from this job, what qualifications you need to break into this market, how easy it is to get started, where you find clients, how copywriters are doing in this economy, how flexible the hours are, and what you need to do to actually get up and running as a copywriter. So as far as my story goes, I will admit about 4 years ago, I'd never heard of copywriting. I had always enjoyed writing itself as a hobby, but copywriting as a profession was completely foreign to me. And when I first heard about it, I'll be honest, it sounded too good to be true. But, I looked into it, I did some research, I talked to people who were actually living as copywriters, living and working as copywriters. So I jumped in, I took the plunge, and fortunately left a job that I really did not care for. And I will say, in my first year, I made $21,763. Not bad, it was a lot less than what I had been making at my previous job, but on the other hand, it was my first venture into this new world. But I will say that I took off pretty quickly from there. My second year, I came close, but not quite, to doubling my first year's income, but I took 2 months off that year to have a baby. So, it worked out pretty well for me, and I didn't have to ask anybody permission to take those 2 months off. I just did it because I was a freelancer. My third year, though, this is last year, 2010, I broke the six-figure mark. I made exactly $100,593 in 2010 as a freelance copywriter. Now, I'll say if you'd told me 4 years ago I was going to start this profession of copywriting that I'd never heard of and hit the six-figure mark in 3 years, I might have been skeptical, but I'm here to tell you it actually happened. It's been terrifically rewarding. So let's talk now about what it is a copywriter does. How on earth did I do that? That's one of the questions I get asked a lot, in fact. Now, copywriting itself is any kind of writing that offers a product or a service for sale. And really, we have two major categories for copywriting. One, there's ad agency copywriting. Two, we have direct response copywriting. Now, ad agency copywriting is usually what people are more familiar with. It's where you see short, funny little taglines usually, or phrases maybe on billboards that just get you to take notice and maybe announce or introduce a product. Direct response copywriting, on the other hand, is any kind of text written to sell something that has a direct call to action. So, and by direct call to action, I mean it's something that gets people to act. So it might be something that says, dial this number now, or fill out this form, or click on this link, or talk to our sales representative. It's basically instructions that are given to the consumer to act, to pull out their credit cards and make a purchase. Now, in terms of using copywriting to sell things, you can sell really just about anything with good copy. You've got products, any kind of tangible good. Services, so of course work done by any person or group that, benefits somebody else. Or you can even sell ideas. Let's say, for instance, you've got corporate strategy tips and you want to sell that. That's something that can be sold with good copy. You've got lots of options, essentially. And you can use just about any medium to sell things through copywriting. Television ads, radio, print, direct mail, internet. By direct mail, just to go back, that's anytime you get something in the mail, snail mail, addressed to you from a company that thinks you're a likely prospect. And what's interesting about this list is direct mail and the internet. Those are two of the biggest fields right now for copywriters, two of the most highly lucrative fields as well. So that's what you do. You basically write things that sell products, services, or ideas. You do it through several mediums. But why would you want to do it? What are the benefits to being a freelance copywriter? There are quite a few, but among many of them, one of the most popular is the fact that you can work from home. You are in charge of your own projects. You get to decide what you do with your time. You don't have a boss looking over your shoulder telling you what to do. You don't even have an alarm clock that you have to live by because you don't have to be at the office at a certain day, at a certain time every day. And best of all, you have unlimited income potential. You can bring in whatever amount of money it is that you really want to bring in, as long as you set your goal for that. Now, in order to do this, let me go back. I want to say these are all some of the most highly ranked benefits to being a freelance copywriter, but there are others. For instance, the fact that people can be more available to their families or work when and where they need to. Say if they have a spouse traveling, or say if they have kids who live in other cities going to college, you can still continue with your work without having to worry about ever taking vacation and sick leave. So, all of these are really some of the most highly rated benefits to being a copywriter. Now, as far as the direction you can take your copywriting, this profession includes lots of different fields. We have direct response copywriting. I just talked about how direct response mail is what you get in the mail. So anything that you write for a company that sends out snail mail, that's direct response copywriting. Web writing, blogging, social media. Now these are all internet-based. Video scripts as well. Video scripts are huge right now, especially because people are so inundated by different types of correspondence via the internet and via print. People are finding that it's just easier to click on a video and learn about a product instead of taking the time to read about it. So video scripts are really growing in this market. Email marketing is hands down one of the biggest fields and most lucrative fields for a copywriter, simply because it can be cheaply done for a marketer, because they can send emails out for free. They just need a good quality copywriter to write those emails. And there's just plenty of potential out there. Ppc ads, that's actually a pay-per-click ad. So if you've ever gone onto Google and typed in a search, and your search results come up, but then you see over on the right-hand side there are usually a couple of essentially paid advertisements that just have a few words in them. Those were written by copywriters who get a lot of money to come up with just a handful of words that will show up in those search results. So that's a specialty basically that you can dive into. Search engine optimization, same kind of thing. That's working on the internet to basically put keyword phrases into the copy of your clients' websites or PPC ads even, so that when a prospect types something in, the results that come up are from your client's page. Because let's be honest, when you look at a search engine, you usually, most of the time, most people usually only look at that first page, and they only look at that first grouping of search results. They don't often go onto the second and third and fourth page. So if you can get your client's website to come up on that first page using search engine optimization, then you're going to be in high demand as a copywriter. E-newsletters, same kind of principle as email marketing, because because electronic newsletters can be sent out so easily and cheaply. They're a very popular way for people to communicate the benefits of their services or products, and that's something that's very popular with consumers because it's something that comes directly to them, to their inbox. They can peruse it when they want to, and occasionally there may be a sales pitch in it or a soft sell, and all of that is something that the copywriter takes care of. And then white papers and case studies. Those are another example of what copywriters can do. If you've never heard of those case studies, they're essentially like success stories written more in an editorial style, a lot like what you'd see in a business magazine article. And white papers, I'd say typically they're about a 5 to 10 page kind of how-to booklet, a lot like a special report, but basically with no sales pitch. So essentially, you can take your copywriting in all these different directions. You've got lots of options. And then you've also got a lot of different niches where you can specialize. There is health, financial, fundraising, catalog, self-help, business to business. Catalog, by that I mean any company that sends catalogs out and they've got those little blurbs that describe every single one of their products. That's written by a copywriter who's basically adept, you hope, at catching the attention of the reader and highlighting the benefits of the product being sold. Business to business, that's transactions between businesses, essentially, as opposed to a business selling directly to a consumer. And the reason I point this out is because specializing earns you a lot more money. Just on top of being a copywriter and being able to claim high fees, if you are a specialist in any one of these categories as opposed to a generalist in everything, then clients are going to be more likely to come to you because they know that you are more well-versed in maybe the jargon for their industry, and maybe you know a couple more rules and tips and tricks to really reaching out to prospects that they would want to tap. And now let me say that this list of 6 specialties, these are some of the most popular, but not by any means is this a comprehensive list. There are so many different areas where you can specialize. In fact, I have a friend who specializes in writing for the veterinary market. Another one who specializes in writing for political speech makers. So you've got a lot of different areas you can go, and these are just the major ones. Now, okay, very popular question. How much money can you realistically make as a copywriter? Now, I say that it's unlimited income potential, and it is, but realistically, the amount of money you can make depends on a few things, especially when you get started. First of all, your niche. So the 6 niches we talked about all offer great income potential, but let's say the health niche and the financial niche, now those are 2 that offer even higher income potential than all the others. They're more competitive, but the fees you can charge for those particular niches are especially high compared to maybe fundraising. Fundraising maybe doesn't pay as high of fees, but it's got a greater intrinsic value, especially if that's something that you feel incredibly passionate about and you'd love to write for the fundraising market. So the amount of money you can make depends on your niche. Of course, it depends on the amount of time you put in. And that's relevant because copywriting is a profession that you can do full-time, part-time, in your spare time, just on the weekends, as a retirement job. So, you know, the amount of time you put in is going to determine your income. It also depends on your willingness to put yourself out there and how quickly you want to move as a copywriter. For example, if you decide to attend conferences or other live events, then you're much more likely to make connections with marketers or other people who might help you move further faster in your career. If you, for instance, don't like to travel, you don't want to go out to conferences, but you are happy to engage in social media, you can put yourself out there through a Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn profile and start tweeting and posting things to let people know that you're there, to grow your number of followers and friends, and then essentially grow your network of contacts until you connect with people who are looking for the services you offer. Or another way to put yourself out there is to have a professional website, something that's just up there constantly working for you, where people can go and read about you, learn about your services, and decide whether or not you will be a good fit for their industry. So if you're willing to do any of those, or even all of those, that's going to get you there faster. And then one of the convenient things about copywriting is that you will get faster and smarter about copywriting as you go. So for me, for example, projects that I worked on my first year in copywriting would take me, let's say a sales letter, for instance, would take me maybe 3 weeks to really get focused on and get written and really basically tackle what it is that I needed to tackle. Now I can do it in about 4 days. So not only can I fit in more work because my rate has improved, but I still charge the same, or in fact, actually my fees have gone up. So I'm able to charge more working for less time. So you will get faster and smarter as you move forward in the copywriting industry. And then there are a couple other things to consider as far as being a copywriter. One, there's this great thing called royalties, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Essentially, that's most people are familiar with royalties that book authors get. If you write a book, you get paid a fee, and then anytime somebody buys your book, you get a nice royalty on top of that, right? Well, in copywriting, royalties are relevant because oftentimes, let's say you write a sales letter like I was just talking about, and your sales letter is for the health niche and it sells a nutritional supplement. Well, in many cases, you can charge a fee to write the sales letter, but then on top of that, you can negotiate a royalty with your client that gets you maybe, let's say, 4 cents for every time a sale is made. But then let's say that company actually has several hundreds of thousands of people who subscribe to their list and who are likely to make a purchase. Well, the more people who buy that nutritional supplement, the greater your earnings are going to be. And the best part about that is that you've already done the work. So really, you just sit back and you let people click on your sales letter, make that purchase, and you are bringing in money. It's a great way to boost your income without a lot of extra effort. So we've got royalties, and then we also have click-in to consider. And if you've never heard of Glicken is this thing, it's kind of like the cherry on top. Excuse me, I didn't mean to do that. The cherry on top, the icing on the cake, it's that extra something that you can get using your copywriting prowess. So an example is maybe you'd like to go to a fancy hotel in New York City, hypothetically, and it costs a lot of money. It's even early on in your career, so you can't afford it. And even though you're not a specialist in the hotel industry, in writing for the hotel industry, you can still contact that hotel, say, hey, I'd really like to write up an article on your hotel and your services, and then I'd like to feature it in a travel magazine. The hotel, in many cases, will comp your stay in exchange for that free publicity that you're offering. And so you get to stay in this great place for free, and then you just write an article about it afterwards. I know people who get a lot of their travel comped that way. I know one copywriter who gets guitar lessons for free via Skype because he writes copy for this fellow who teaches guitar lessons. I know another lady who wrote her own copy to sell her home instead of hiring a real estate agent, and not only did she sell it quickly and in a down market, but she sold it for a lot of money, and it was all because of her copywriting skills. Personally, I have a goal to get my kitchen remodeled this year using my copy skills as opposed to paying for the remodel. That's my personal goal. So Glicken, it comes in handy. You can do a lot with it. Now let me summarize. As far as the money goes, I would say a feasible range is anything from $40,000 part-time to $200,000. That's totally doable if you are willing to put yourself out there and do what you need to do to become a copywriter, which we'll talk about in a moment. In fact, as far as that part-time number, I know a copywriter, her name I believe is Kelly Richardson, who's actually a full-time high school English teacher. And she loves being a teacher. She doesn't want to give that up, but she also enjoys copywriting because of the extra income it brings her. She works part-time to bring in an extra $40,000 on top of her teacher's salary. I know several copywriters who've been in the business just a handful of years. They're making around $200,000. One or two even go beyond that, so you can definitely go beyond that. But this range is definitely doable. And then one other thing I'd like to point out is that I'm not just talking about copywriting in general. Remember, we discussed in the beginning of this presentation that you've got ad agency copy and you've got direct response copy. Ad agency copy, if you were to Google an ad agency copywriter salary, you'd see that there's a range of roughly between $32,000 and $62,000. Now that's a good range, but for direct response copywriters, the range is much bigger. You can go much higher. So let's talk about what you actually need to do to become a copywriter. Or rather, let's start by talking about what you don't need to do. You don't need to be a writer. That's one of the common misconceptions. You don't have to be a writer at all. You don't need to be a marketer. In fact, when I began in this business, I didn't really know a thing about marketing. I have learned as I've gone. You don't need to have a degree in copywriting. I don't think there even is one. You certainly don't need an English degree. You don't need to be a salesperson at all. I am not a salesperson. If you do have a sales background, that could help you tremendously, but you certainly don't need to come in with one. You don't need a lot of money to get started. Really, you just need a computer and an internet connection. And you don't need to be a techie. So on the same lines of having a computer, as long as you can send email and do research over the web, you're pretty much set. You don't have to know all the ins and outs of what it takes to create a website and to write HTML code. You don't need any of that at all. But what you do need, let's talk about what you do need. Number one, the desire to succeed. And I say that because, as I've mentioned before, this is the life of a freelance copywriter. You don't have a boss looking over your shoulder. It's fantastic. You can take on any projects you want to, but you have to be willing to do it. You have to want to do it, and you have to want to put yourself out there and push yourself forward into the level of success that you can undoubtedly achieve. Now, you also need an understanding of just simple communication secrets, like really just like having the ability to write like most people speak. So don't worry about needing to write at a 12th grade level and beyond. In fact, copywriting is much simpler than that. It's very simple, basic communication secrets that connect with people. And on that same level, you need the ability to connect on an emotional level. So you need to know how to figure out why it is people do and buy and even want the things that they do. So let's talk again about nutritional supplements. When somebody buys a nutritional supplement, it's not just because they want to take a pill. Let's say it's a nutritional supplement for their joints, for joint health, glucosamine, for instance. They're not taking it just because they want their joints to feel better. They're taking it because they want to be able to move freely and comfortably. And that is because they want to be able to live an active, healthy lifestyle so that they can go places and visit with people and not be stuck in a chair. So you see, you have to be able to move beyond just making a simple purchase because of what that purchase is to the deeper reason that somebody would make that purchase. And that's not hard to do. You just need to understand people, really. Now, how easy is it to get started? That's the other question that I get asked a lot. Really, pretty simple. Along with the will to succeed, which we've talked about, you really need a roadmap because there are so many different directions that you can take this career. If you have a roadmap, it's going to get you wherever you'd like to go a lot sooner and with a lot less headache involved. And you need some targeted training because that's, again, going to weed out all of the excess possibilities that you could take on and instead keep you focused on your end goal and on getting to what you really want. Now, in terms of getting started and then finding clients, which is another very common question, you've actually got a lot of options. First of all, you can apply to job posts. There are different websites that allow marketers to post their needs for copywriters. You can get leads through your professional website. So if you have a website up, people can come to your website and learn about your services, decide that you're a good fit for them, and contact you. You can send out self-promotional sales letters. So this is basically where you target companies that you think would be a good fit for what you offer. You send them a sales letter telling them about what you do, why you do it, why you're qualified to write for them. Ideally, they take you up on your offer. You can ask for referrals. This is actually easier than you think. Most people think, in the beginning at least, well, I don't know anybody in marketing. I don't know anybody in a company that would hire copywriters. But you do, or at least you know somebody who knows somebody. Everybody has a neighbor or a friend or a dentist or a doctor who might know somebody who is in a business that actually needs some type of promotional copy. And on that note, you can even approach your dentist or your veterinarian, like I mentioned my friend does, to see if they need promotional copy to sell their services and get the word out about what they do. So just tap into your own personal network to get started, and then from there it'll essentially snowball. Another option is to build your own social media network. We talked about that briefly before. You can essentially put yourself out there for free on all the major social media platforms and start connecting with other people in this business, and eventually you will make contacts who will need the type of services you offer. Or you can even try cold calling, which is basically where you just call up a company that you think would be a great fit for you and you say, hey, here I am. Do you hire freelance copywriters? A lot of people have success this way. And any of these options, in fact, this list, again, is not comprehensive. There are so many different ways that you can get jobs as a copywriter. The possibilities are really endless. I'm a big advocate of doing what you're most comfortable with. So if you look at this list and you see a few things that kind of make you shiver, don't worry, you don't have to do those. You can do the other things. You can do anything as direct as cold calling or anything as non-direct as simply having a website up that puts the word out about you. Now, okay, so we know copywriters, we know copywriting itself is a great job, and we know copywriters have a lot of specialties and niches where they can apply their talents. But right now, in this current down economy, is it worth it? Do you really want to go on this road right now? Well, I would say yes. First of all, because I made my first 6 figures last year when when the economy was not at its best. But also because copywriters really can do great in a bum economy for several reasons. First of all, we don't rely on a single promotional vehicle. So like I talked about, you have several ways to get the word out about what you do. You're not limited in any way to a certain type of prospect or to a certain avenue for communicating what you do. And advertising and searching for clients is pretty much free, depending especially on the route that you take. Making phone calls, free. Social media platforms, free. So you've got a lot of different options that don't take a lot of money if you're trying to cut corners. Plus, the business itself is in a lot of ways considered recession-proof. And I say that because, first of all, copywriting qualifies you for multiple income possibilities. So let's say you were a copywriter a couple years ago who specialized in radio ads. So essentially you would write scripts that would get written over the radio. And let's say, well, we'll talk about this in a minute, but radio spending is down. That's fine. You can just switch your focus over to the internet where spending is up. You've got a lot of different directions you can go in, and you have the freedom to adjust your services when needed because you don't have capital and you don't have fixed costs that you're getting from other people. You name your price. So let's say that you write sales letters for $6,000. Let's say that's your fee, and your average sales letter is a 12-page sales letter, okay? But in a down economy where your clients are maybe looking to spend a little less, you can easily offer them maybe a 6-page sales letter for $3,000. You know, you're still making good money, and you can just essentially expand your services to more clients so that you continue to make the same amount of money you want to, but you're offering clients themselves a lower price. So you've got lots of freedom in that area. And then there's a flip side to consider. Really, in bad economies, what happens is some companies have to lay off their in-house salaried writers, which is unfortunate for those writers, but those companies still have copy needs, so that's when they turn to freelancers for the occasional project. And if you're a freelancer, then you're right there, ready to jump on the opportunity. So another thing to consider about how copywriters are doing in this economy, let's look at some numbers from 2010. First of all, traditional ad spending is down. I just talked about how radio spending was down, magazines and newspaper ads was down as well. Television was actually up, but these three major vehicles were down in terms of ad spending. But on the other hand, direct mail actually went up by 3% in 2010. Digital spending up by 8.5% in 2010. And within that digital spending category, email itself went up 8.6%, up to 1.4 billion. And even bigger than that, email is expected to grow more than 18% in 2011. That's huge. Anybody who is a copywriter right now really needs to understand how to write emails because there's such a huge and growing market for it. And it makes sense. Email substitutes other forms of ad spending because really it's pretty cheap to do, like we talked about. It works with the recession-driven budget cuts that we've seen over the last couple of years. So, to summarize, the great side of this story is that direct and digital ad spending, they're up by 6.2%, and right now they are forecast to go up even higher. So it's just going to get better and better. Those numbers come from the Winterberry Group, by the way. Now let's talk about the hours. A question I'm very commonly asked is, are they really flexible hours, or is that just kind of a sales pitch? Honestly, they can be anything you want them to be. Really, I mean that. You have total control over how, where, and when you work. And I've experienced this. For instance, when I first became a copywriter, I paralleled my husband's hours so that we could work the same schedule. And he works the schedule that's kind of all over the place. Sometimes he works nights, sometimes he works days. His weekends are in the middle of the week. And I enjoyed having the same schedule that he did, which I did not have when I was at a traditional job. On the other hand, once we had a baby, I was able to flip my hours so that my hours were the opposite of my husband's, so that one of us was always home to take care of our son. So honestly, you have total control over your hours. The only thing to consider is that maybe if you send an email in the middle of the night because that's your preferred time to work, of course you probably won't get a reply until midday the next day, especially if your client works normal business hours. But that's okay. It's doable. As long as you're responsive and on top of things, then you can definitely work any kind of hours that you want to. I know several people who work early mornings and then just take off the rest of the day to go play golf or go shopping. And I know a couple people who are late night owls and they work into the wee hours of the morning and then sleep the rest of the day. You know, whatever works for you, you can do it. Okay, so what do you need to get going, assuming that you like this whole idea of living the writer's life and being a freelancer and being in charge of your time and earning unlimited income, you know? Let's assume that you like that idea. Let's assume you have the will to get started that we talked about. You have to remember, your age, your background, and your experience doesn't matter. A lot of people come in with the misconception that they have to fit a certain profile, and that's not the case. Because what's great about copywriting is that everybody is different. Everybody has a different story to tell, and that actually benefits your clients because they don't want people who are cookie-cutter writers. They want writing that is earnest from the heart, that covers a wide variety. And so depending on your background and where you come from, you're going to be able to offer that. Plus, you need to have your own definition of success. And by that, I mean you don't want to jump into this industry comparing yourself to others, because this is not like other professions where you're looking to achieve a certain rank or a certain status or a certain job title. You do this, you become a copywriter because you want the writer's life and because you want to achieve your own personal goals that work for you and that work for your family. And this is a great vehicle to do that in. So you need to really get started, a roadmap that basically weeds out all the extraneous opportunities that don't keep you focused on your goal, a support system, because you will work from home, and it's just terrific to have other people that you can contact for critiques on your copy or for advice on which way to turn. And you need a fast way to get to where you want to be. So basically a fast track on your road to wealth. The next step, if you're interested, is to put yourself on a direct path to the writer's life, which means basically that you're going to open yourself up to complete financial and personal freedom. You have to remember, this is real. This is the real thing. I'm proof of this. And so really, the only thing I can recommend is to take a look at the program that got me launched. It taught me everything I know, and that's why I'm able to now live the writer's life and make my own hours and really just love what I do. So to learn more, I highly recommend you go to this link. It should also appear at the bottom of this presentation. Just take a look at it. Open yourself up to the possibility of really succeeding, and click on this link, and then hopefully I'll be able to talk with you sometime about being a copywriter. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. There's my website address up there, mtmcopywriting.com, or you can just contact me directly via email, mindy@mtmcopywriting.com. And I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and have a great day. Thanks so much. Take care.